right, if those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda Anderson, and my husband, Matthew, is the lead pastor here, and he is on leave for a year. So I thought I'd give a little update on my husband, how he's doing, kind of that kind of thing. He's doing super well. So, yay, yeah, right? So I thought I'd give some funny stories. Last time I talked about how excited he was to prepare peas for the family, and now I've got another fun one. A while ago, we went to visit Hayes in Phoenix, okay? We go out to coffee with Hayes, and Hayes sits down with Matthew and says, I really need to talk to you. How are your quiet times, Dad? Matthew's like, they're going really well. Oh, really? Really? Because I heard you were binge watching Netflix. Matthew goes, what? And then he was thinking, he's like, I guess I did for like one day, like I was sick. Malin and I were both home like sick. So yeah, I watched Netflix. And he's like, what? One day? So then he goes and asks Malin, like, what in the world? Malin just started laughing. She's like, I got you, Hayes. Poor Hayes thought his father had gone off the rocker and is just watching Netflix all day long. So he is, for the first 2.5, 3 months, he was having his quiet time for 5 hours a day. Now, God bless all of you who can sit on the couch for 5 hours and just listen to the Lord. That's not me, but he loved every second of it. And I think a few weeks ago, he finally told me, I think I'm bored. I'm like, wow, I would have been bored after probably 2 hours, so it's all different. He has read 10 books. And it's so funny because he likes fantasy, like the men fantasy, Brandon Sanderson or something, sorry, Tyler, not sexual men's fantasies. Tyler Schenzel. Okay. I heard that laugh, that junior high laugh that your father always used to do. Yeah. Okay, so Brandon Sanderson writes these books, okay? Matthew loves them. And so during this time as well, he decided to read the Mark of the Lion series. If you guys have read those, a lot of women have. Francine Rivers, amazing. And when he was done reading these books, he's like, wow. They are so emotional. I am so into the drama, and I just feel so intensely. And I'm like, wow, it's a difference between a female author and a male author, because we get into all the emotions and stuff. So that's super fun. 2 weeks ago, he flew to Phoenix and brought Hayes home. So he's been doing a lot of fun things and resting. So he's doing really well. Update on church. I always love to give a little bit of an update on church. We finished the back rooms. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, awesome. Yes. So we would love to thank all the people back there. Now, we still need, I think, $30,000, okay? But you have to pay contractors ahead of time. So we still need you guys to give. But I do want to thank everybody who helped with that. It's been so fun to watch so many people help with that. Josh Ballard has headed up the whole project, so he probably needs a month off for that one. Yeah. It's amazing to see our guys. And I wanted to thank, Brady Santee, Kevin Donlin, who was up on a ladder at 11:30 at night, way too late. Anyway, Steve, the carpet guy, if you're here, I don't know your last name. David Repair, Paul Yoder, Don Stein, Tim Schwager, Mandy and Paul, Andrew and Susan. And we'd also like to thank Alex for having his face he was superimposed on the construction workers. Completely defamed of character because Alex doesn't really like to do a lot of construction stuff, as he said earlier. That's right. So we're super excited. Go see that afterwards. It's super fun. It's going to be used for classrooms, kids, all the things. It's really great to see. Also, here at Waypoint, we have core values. I don't know if some of you guys know that. It's just what makes up our culture, what we're like as a church, and that kind of thing. And so we have 7 core values, and you can find them on the website under membership. One of our core values is we value healthy community. So for the next 7 weeks, we are going to go through different topics that we feel like is important in living in healthy community. Last week, Jermaine touched on community and what it is and what it's not. And the biggest thing I remember from last week is that I need to try sweet potato pie. Sorry, because I love sweet potatoes, but I've never been Southern, and I've never tried that. So this series is called Life Together. And this week I'm going to talk about different stages in our lives. God is a God of rhythms and stages of development, and he's formed us all for community. No matter where you are in life, we are made for community. Our whole lives, every stage, we are made for community. So 3 professional experiences really impacted, her name was Truth Berling, okay? When she was the assistant principal and spiritual director at a Christian high school, she was invited to participate in a national task force studying how students grow in their faith. The result of that study concluded that a student's faith is most impacted by being in an authentic relationship with a godly teacher, coach, parent, or adult. 2 years later, Anne joined the staff of a nonprofit organization. She learned that 25 years of clinical experience with wounded clients had led them to conclude that people heal in authentic, God-centered relationships and with families. They heal in community. People need other people to heal. 2 years later, when she was also asked to participate on a leadership team led by a national church consultant, she learned that people come to the Lord in authentic relationships in community. 3 professional experiences, 1 striking conclusion. Students grow in their faith through relationships. Wounded people heal in relationships. And unbelievers come to the Lord through relationships. We are made for community our whole lives, every stage. We are made for community. The following are all stages of development that a person will go through in your lifetime. Now, I want you guys to know the reason I'm doing what I'm doing today is that in order for us to have healthy community, all of us individually need to go through these stages in a healthy way. The problem is that many of us haven't. But the good news is that even though you have gone through these stages, if you haven't gone through these stages in a healthy way, God can heal. In a perfect world, these are normal stages of development. But we all know that nothing is perfect and we live in a fallen world, as we can tell from Tyler's thought process. As I read through each stage, be mindful of where you are in life, physically and spiritually. In the physical sense, most of us in this room are in the adult, parent, or elder stage. But as I read through these stages and what is normal development, you may think, I never got that. Or I feel stuck and I can't move forward. Or you can think of this in like spiritual sense of maturity. Maybe we've become a Christian. Like if you guys are new in your faith, you would be what we consider like infants or babies in your faith. You don't know a lot. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. But it doesn't matter. You're here in this community and you can go through these stages of life in your spiritual life as well. You know, when I went to my 20-year high school reunion 10 years ago, some people there had moved on. And you're like, oh my goodness, yes, you know, it's great to see you. And then you can like celebrate other people's accomplishments as well. But then you know there's some of those people that they've never moved on from high school. I would definitely say that they're stuck in a stage. Okay, so, well, let's go through the first stage. Is called infancy stage. It's 0 to 3 years old. Your primary task in this stage is to learn to receive. Always we marvel at Christ as a baby. Like, how could he just be so dependent on somebody else? What characterizes this stage of development? You, as an infant, you live in joy. You learn that joy is one's normal state. You develop trust because there's nothing you can do, but you learn to trust your caregiver. You learn how to receive. You begin to organize self into a person through relationships. And you learn how to return to joy from very unpleasant relationships. Okay, so what if you didn't get this as a baby? Here's a fun, interesting story, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard. Back in the 13th century, the German king, Frederick II, conducted a diabolical experiment intended to discover what language children would naturally grow up if never spoken to. He thought it would be German. Imagine that. Some things are just obvious. Okay, so King Frederick took babies from their mother. Where's Victor? Is Victor here? Yeah, it's the Germans. Okay, I love Victor. Okay. Yeah. So King Frederick took babies from their mothers at birth and placed them in the care of nurses who were forbidden to speak in their hearing. But at a second rule, that was imposed as well. The nurses were not allowed to touch the infants. To his great dismay, Frederick's experiment was cut short, but not before something tragically significant regarding human nature was revealed. As you may have guessed, the babies grew up to speak no language at all because they died. Modern medicine calls this phenomenon failure to thrive. Now, okay, most of us are not that bad. Clearly, we're not dead, right? So we haven't missed it all. But what if it's hard for you guys to receive? What if it's like, I don't know how to receive? You know, if someone gives me a compliment and I whisk it away with oh, it's not really, you don't know how to say thank you, or you don't know how to say, accept. Or what if someone wants to come and help you at your house and you don't feel like you can accept help? That would be something that you should probably work on and receive, because a lot of times in community, if nobody needs anything, it's not a realistic community, because we are made to need one another and we're made to receive from each other. So we are made for community our whole lives. Every stage we're made for community. The child stage, 4 to 12 years old. Primary task to be completed is taking care of yourself. What characterizes this stage of development? You learn to ask for what's needed. You can say what one thinks and feels. You learn what brings personal satisfaction to you. You develop enough persistence to do hard things. Develops personal resources and talents. And you know self, and you take responsibility to make yourself understandable to others. Okay, what if you did not get this satisfied as a child? Ask God what you need or are lacking in this stage. Dig into it and focus on working on that. Like an example, when I was a Christian for a while, I don't know, maybe 5 or 7 years or something like that, I realized I didn't know how to need someone in a healthy way. I didn't want to be a burden, so I didn't want to ask anyone to help me, to need them. Need in our culture is so bad because independency is what we see as king. And what we need to do is we need to learn to need each other. So how does this work itself out in community, like in church? As a Christian, spiritually, you need to learn to give and receive in the community that you belong to. You can ask for things when you need them. Like, I am struggling today. Can you pray for me? Some of us, it's even hard to even ask for prayer. Some of us, it's even hard to come up front and ask. But that's very, very healthy, you guys. It's very healthy to depend on people and to ask for things. And then when you guys come up to the altar and you ask for prayer, or with a friend, wherever you get your prayer from, or call someone that when you're having a hard time, what does that make you want to do? When someone helps you, you want to help somebody else. And it's a very healthy thing in a community. We are made for community. We are made for our whole lives in every stage. So let's go to the adult stage. 13 to the birth of your first child. Primary task to be completed is taking care of 2 people simultaneously. What characterizes this stage of development? You care for yourself and others simultaneously in mutual satisfying relationships. You remain stable in difficult situations. Okay, this is huge, okay? If your life is going crazy, you're going to remain stable here in these difficult situations. And you know how to return to self and help others return to joy. You bond with your peers. You take responsibility of how personal actions affect others. That's a huge one, you guys, huge. Takes responsibility of how personal actions affect others. Contributes to the community, articulates who we are as being part of belonging to that community. So like an example, okay, so I grew up with 3 older brothers, and back then I never shared a bedroom with anyone, all growing up, okay? And then I go to college, and I shared a room with my roommate. And back then, You had to write like what your preferences are. The only preference I remember writing in my roommate was that she didn't smoke. It wasn't like they did any other things. Like, I just don't want a smoking roommate in my room, okay? Well, she ended up smoking because she was hoping I would help her quit. So that was not great. Whereas, like, these guys, when they go to GCU, they, like, fill out a whole app of picking their roommate. Do they stay up late? Do they like to do outdoor activities? It's fabulous. Anyway, but I had to realize, like, when I had a roommate now, I'd never had one before, but my actions affect her. You know, it's not like I can just go and get sick in the middle of the room and just leave it there, or pee everywhere in my room and just leave it there. You know, I mean, these are extreme things. Or you can't have 10, I know some of these college people, you get drunk and you don't know what you're doing, but 10 people, having them over at night, you know, all hours of the night, when you have a roommate that needs to study, that's not great. You need to consider the needs of other people, and having roommates is brilliant. It will help you so much. So, like, what if you didn't get this satisfied as a teenager or young adult? How you matter to other people. So, sometimes, okay. Natural human development. I don't know who's watching me at home, so I need to be careful on what I say. Natural human development, you learn, like my kids learn that their consequences hurt people. And sometimes if people are from different environments, you don't feel like your consequences mean anything. And so you're like, I don't really care. I don't care if I hurt people. I don't care about my behavior and how it affects other people. It's kind of really, really spooky if you go down the road of like no consequences in people's lives. And that was one of the greatest things that I prayed over my people, that they would realize how their lives affect other people. And some of you may sit out there and think, I don't care, I've been so hurt, I'm so numb. You know, you need to get to know the love of God over you. Because I think when you discover how valuable you are to God, it matters in how you treat other people. And so if you guys struggle so bad inside of you, loving people, ask for a better revelation from God on how he sees you. Also, get some roommates, okay? Yeah. Or get married, huh? Which was so interesting. I think Susanna Wesley in her time, for women, their only choice was to get married, because that is how they would make anything of themselves. It's not like they had all these jobs they could go out and get. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Okay, get married, guys. That will turn you around. Also, if you're not married, get together with a friend and say, how am I doing as a friend? Like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? You know, I do this every year, or Kristen now does it with the D School every year. Find out your strengths and weaknesses. Oh, be a part of a small group. That's a really big one, because I know we don't like each other in our small group all the time, but it's really healthy for us. Okay, so remember, you guys, we are made for community. Our whole lives, every stage, we are made for community. Next stage, parent stage. Birth of the first child until your youngest child has become an adult. Primary task to be completed, sacrificially taking care of the community. What characterizes a stage of development? You protect, you serve, and you enjoy your family. You're devoted to taking care of children without the expectation to be taken care of children in return. Allows and provides spiritual parents and siblings for their children. You learn how to bring children through difficult times and return to joy from other emotions. Sacrificially, you know, wow, I don't even know. There's no bigger way of figuring this out except having a child, adopting a child, or something. I don't know of any other way that I've sacrificed more in my entire life. You start at a baby and you go all the way to death. So it's just so interesting. You know, my kids are in young adult stage and teenage. It never ends. I know, people told me that all the time. It never ends. It's true, okay? You're right. You are all right. If you cannot do the parent stage well, what if you can't parent well? What if you can't give yourself to someone else without expecting something in return? Get some counseling. Yeah. And I say this mantra all the time in my head. Okay, I'm the parent, they're the kid. Okay, let's remember this. I need to serve them without getting anything back. And when you have littles or, whatever, you are serving them and they give you nothing back, Or if you have like an estranged family member, speaking to myself, if you have an estranged family member that will give nothing back to you, what do? You love them anyway. You become the healthy one and reach out all the time, whether they give anything back to you or not. How does this stage work itself out in community? Example, spiritually. If you guys are in this parenting stage, disciple your kids, disciple other people. If you don't have kids, disciple the younger people. The families in our church, I know you guys, that's such a busy stage, but you guys are the builders of our church. In a very consistent and very solid way. And I don't want to take that lightly because we need you guys. I know it's so hard. It's like the family stage, you stop thinking in terms of semesters, because when you're in college, it's like, if I can just get through this semester, and when you get older, it becomes this longer stage, and it's very, very good. You can also lead a small group and learn how to give to people that may not give back to you. So we are made for community our whole lives, every stage. We are made for community. The elder stage, when your youngest child is at least 13, which would be me. Yes. Primary stage to be completed, sacrificially taking care of the community. What characterizes this stage of development? You establish an accurate community identity, and you act like yourself in the midst of difficulty. So when things hurt you, when people hurt you, you still are who you are, because you know yourself by this time. You appraise each community member and enjoy the true self in each individual. You parent and you help mature the community. You give life to those without a family through spiritual adoption. This is super, super great, you guys. FYI, I'm turning 50 this year, and right? I made it this far, right? Okay. I love everything about it. I love it. Not so super insecure anymore, and that is a great thing, I just think it's so fun because now I can just get away with being old, you can have that old thing, right? But I love to give back. I love to give back to the community. I love to receive from the community, and I want to give back. Like how does the stage work itself out, like in people? It's through wisdom and constant encouragement. I know, I think of Devon often encourages everybody in the office, and she's like, okay, is this okay? And I said, yes, because all we need to do is we need to hear that we're going to make it, that life is not over when you have your first child, or life is not over when your business dies, or when you go bankrupt, or what. No, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. We're all going to make it. That was the greatest thing people told me when I was in the early stages of having kids. It's not going to last forever. You're going to make it. Your kids will be fine. Your kids will be, and it's so true, and it's so good to hear. And another friend of mine, sweet friend, told me the toddler stage, you feel the most vulnerable you've ever felt in your life. And it was so true. It was so true. I have loved every stage of my kids' development, but your vulnerability when your kids are young, it's super hard. It's super hard. But I am looking forward, and I enjoy this elder stage. It's super great. I do want to admonish people that are this age or this stage to really invest into young people. They need it. They need our belief in them. They need our encouragement in their lives, and that we're going to make it, So there's 5 stages of development: the infant stage, the child stage, the adult stage, the parent stage, or the elder stage. Did you notice some places where you were like, oh, that didn't happen for me? You may be stuck in some part of a stage. How do you move forward? How do I get these needs satisfied? In and through community. That's why we have altar calls. That's why we have people that will pray for you. That's why we have small groups. You guys enter into that. We need each other to grow and to heal and to come to know Jesus. And Okay, we need young people. This is why. I know we're always like, we need young people. But I hope you've heard me say we need every stage today. Young people, man, you guys are so full of zeal and energy. I know everybody says, I wish I had their energy. It's so true, you guys. It's so true. It's like midnight is when the party starts. I'm like, no, it does not. I'm not going to be learning karaoke or how to line dance in my living room. I'm going to bed. So I have talked about stages. I've talked about all these life stages, But what does the Bible say about community? Some of you, as you guys have come in, as I was praying about today, God really brought Susanna Wesley, her story. And then God brought to mind the word one another's. And if you look, if you research one another's in the Bible, you will find so much. I gave you a bookmark as you entered in the door. I hope all of you guys got that. And it's just to put in your Bible. It's listed the one another's in your Bible. Remind yourself of community, of one another's, and we need it. One another is 2 words in English, but it was 1 word in Greek. It's used 100 times. In the New Testament, 94 times, and 47 of those verses were instructions to the church, and 60% of those instructions came from Paul. All right, there's also other one another's in the Bible, like give each other a holy kiss to one another. Don't be doing that unless it's to your mother, Hunter. Okay. So, when you look at these verses, a few common themes show up. Unity. You guys were huge into unity right now, okay? Like, be at peace with one another. Don't grumble among one another. Be of the same mind with one another. Accept one another. Wait for one another before beginning the Eucharist. Don't bite, devour, or consume one another. Don't boastfully challenge or envy one another. Gently, patiently tolerate one another. Be kind, tender-hearted, and forgiving to one another. Bear with one another and forgive one another. Seek good for one another and don't repay evil for evil. Don't complain against one another. Confess sins to one another. Love. 1/3 of the instructions instruct Christians to love one another. Humility. About 15% stress an attitude of humility and deference among believers. Give preference to one another in love, in honor. Regard one another as more important than yourself. Serve one another. Wash one another's feet. Don't be haughty. Be of the same mind. Be subject to one another. And here's the rest. Do not judge one another. Husbands and wives, don't deprive one another. Bear one another's burdens. Speak truth to one another. Don't lie to one another. Be hospitable to one another. There's so many scriptures throughout the whole New Testament that talks about us in community and what we are to be with one another. And I hope you guys hear me today that more than anything, we are made for community in every stage of our lives. We're made for community. So I really want us to think for the next few minutes. The band's going to come up and play a song for us. And I would love for you guys, if you need some prayer, that you feel like, hey, I feel really like I've missed this part of my life. I would like God to work on this part of my life. In one of my stages, I feel stuck or whatever. I would love for you guys to come up and get some prayer. Also, anyone that needs any kind of prayer, come up and get prayer. God is here, and we want to be here for you so that you can receive from God. Okay, as we're waiting on the band. Okay, I'm going to do the best thing in this scenario. I'm going to pray. Hopefully the band will get up here while I pray. Yes. Lord, we just thank you for today. I pray, even just as everybody can maybe just get one nugget of what I said. It's a place where you want to meet them, Lord. It's a place where you want them to say, I want to go deeper and deeper with you, Lord. I never learned to receive. I don't know how to ask. I don't know how to trust people, Lord. I don't know how to receive. Lord, I just ask whatever you bring to mind to people, that people would come up here, that people would get prayer, Lord, that the altar team would just meet all these people that come up, Lord. And I just pray that your hand would be upon everybody in this congregation, Lord, in Mother's Day and mothers, Lord. I pray that you would move in their lives today. And we just pray all this in your name. Amen.